Welcome to the Community Producers. I'm your host, Victoria Nestorowicz. Community Producers is a program where we showcase stories and segments produced by volunteers in and around Southern Alberta. In this first segment, Glenn Miller talks about the rededication of the Immortal Flame in the Mount View Cemetery and the importance of the continuing service of the Canadian military.
G'day, I'm Warrant Officer Glenn Miller, retired, and I'm here standing with Major Nick Barber, the commanding officer of the 20th Independent Field Battery at the Lethbridge Mountain View Cemetery. We just finished a rededication of the Immortal Flame, and that was done 51 years ago on December 27th, 1966. So Major Barber, can you tell me, new to the city and as the commanding officer, what this ceremony meant to you today?
Well, again, it is much like the change of command. It was excellent seeing the support from the community and how much the rich military history here means to the people of this community. Having a reserve unit here in the city of Lethbridge allows young people in the community, to earn some money to go towards their school, but also to help give back to both the city and the nation as a whole. We currently have soldiers deployed fighting the fires in BC, and that's just one example right now of these young people giving back.
And I understand that's a long history in the last 20 years with the capacity to send troops to the United Nations or Afghanistan over the decade to continue that capacity building and generation.
Absolutely. I served in Afghanistan in 2010. By that point, many of the regular force soldiers had been on multiple rotations overseas, and I know my rotation was over 25% made up of reservists. So that's a huge impact when you have a battle group, a contingent of over 3,000 soldiers in foreign country doing great things.
Thank you. Well, I wish you continued success here in Lethbridge in generating troops for the future and now as well, but also in recruiting and bringing your numbers up so that you're able to do that capacity.
Thank you very much.
And now I'm joined by Bombardier Gordon of the 20th Independent Field Battery, who's a reservist. So Bombardier Gordon, can you tell me what motivated you to join the local reserves?
Growing up, I heard stories about my grandfather in World War II. He passed away when I was a child, but that gave me the confidence to actually join the forces. But the reserve was kind of the stepping stone for myself.
And how long have you been as a career now in the reserves?
I've been in the reserves for just over 4 years now.
And we were talking earlier, you've now completed your junior leadership training. What's on your horizon for your career?
The next part of my career is to actually switch trades into more of a finance position. And hopefully that's another stepping stone to further my career in the Canadian Armed Forces.
Well, thank you for your service. And are you currently going to school as well?
I'm not currently in school, actually.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your service here and in the future. From the Lethbridge Mountain View Cemetery, I'm Warrant Officer retired Glenn Miller.
There's a new hockey team hitting the ice in Lethbridge. The Lethbridge Lightning will start off their inaugural year in the Ranchland Hockey League.
Open tryouts.
A new team will be striking the Ranchland Hockey League this season. The Lethbridge Lightning have officially announced their inaugural year. President and director Rob Zintel said he felt there was a promising opportunity to bring a team to Lethbridge.
The Ranchland League, as we've come to find out, has been hurting for teams over the past, and I don't know why. We have a great population here in Lethbridge, and there are many, many good hockey players. in and around our community that would be a part of this event, and I think that's great to get them out to start at least one team here in Lethbridge and promote Southern Alberta hockey in the Ranchland League.
Zintel says the community has welcomed the team with open arms.
It's been nothing but great. We had a goal starting off to raise a bunch of money to make this happen, and we're 50% towards that goal, and we got a month and a half yet before we're starting, so I'm very optimistic about starting this season. I'm excited about doing it. We've got a bunch of players that have been coming out for some summer ice time, and man alive, they're giving it all, so I'm looking forward to the.
Head coach Jeff Koborinsky says he's excited to take on the role with the senior AA hockey team.
It's been a few years since I've coached. I've been involved in scouting at major junior level. When I was approached by the Lightning, one of the things that I thought of first of all was the whole, it's new to the community, it's going to be new to a lot of the players, and I'm hoping that I can give back in the way that I received when I quit playing junior hockey and went to play at the senior level, and it's challenging. I'm up for challenges. I'm a very competitive person, but I'm also a person that looks at the broader scope of things, and as I mentioned earlier, I went from thinking this would be a great building experience to it's going to be a great building experience with maybe the end results of, like I said, hoisting a banner at the end of the season.
The Lightning's first game kicks off on October 15th at the ATB Center against Siksika. For Community Producers, I'm Fallon Wagner.
Looking to adopt a new furry companion? Up next is the latest edition of Pet Talk with Skylar Pleward.
My name is Skylar Pleward. You're watching Pet Talk on Community Producers. Today we're going to visit with two adoptable cats from the City Animal Shelter. We're also going to talk about dog parks. This hefty boy is Christmas. Christmas was found as a stray on the south side in July and brought into the animal shelter. Nobody has claimed Christmas, and he has since been placed for adoption. Christmas is approximately 8 years old, is very affectionate, and looking for someone to keep up his daily exercise routine. If you're interested in adopting Christmas or any of the animals at the shelter, stop by, check us out on Facebook at Lethbridge Animal Services, or call 403-320-4099. This is Augustus. Augustus was found left on a property on the north side of the city in August and turned into Animal Services. Augustus has never been claimed. He has since been neutered and vaccinated and is available for adoption. If you're interested in visiting or adopting Augustus or any of the animals at the shelter, stop by in person or check us out on Facebook at Lethbridge Animal Services. With the opening of the new dog park on the west side of Lethbridge, Animal Services wants to remind pet owners of the responsibilities and proper etiquette of using the designated off-leash areas. The City of Lethbridge has 4 marked off-leash areas on the north side, south side, the west side, and the new Riverstone West Side Dog Park. We remind owners that although dogs are permitted to be off-leash in these areas, they are required to be under control at all times. Everybody should be picking up their dog's business to make sure the parks stay healthy and safe. And of course, if there's any issues, we do ask citizens to contact Animal Services so it can be dealt with properly. Remember that dogs are only permitted to be off-leash within the marked designated areas, otherwise they must stay on a leash.
Hey, it's Constable Hagan with Lethbridge Police Service, and on this segment of Cop Beat with Community Producers, I'm actually interviewing Constable Wigand. He is a school resource officer. So, Constable Wigand,
yes, Gary.
School's back in session.
Yeah, it is. Kids are excited to be back. Parents are probably excited to have their kids back in school. So just be careful, because when kids are excited, they're not always paying attention. So we want to make sure that parents are aware, people that are driving around aware, to watch out for kids.
That's right. So we really want to focus on abiding by school zones. School zones are back in effect, correct?
School zones are back in effect, yes. They come into effect usually from the start of the school, and they go into effect till probably usually the end of June when school's out.
Perfect. So that's 30 kilometers an hour.
That is 30 kilometers an hour.
All throughout the city?
All throughout the city, wherever it's posted.
All right. So what is the time frame on that then?
It will be posted in Lethbridge. The hours for school zones are from 7:30 to 4:30.
Every day?
Every day.
Monday to Friday,
Monday
or just
to
while
Fri-
school's out?
School zones just go from Monday to Friday. If it's a playground zone, it's every day.
Perfect. Great. So we really want to be cognizant of people driving too fast through school zones, obviously, but just being aware. Don't be texting and driving. Children are running, like Constable Wiggins said, they're excited. They're running out of their parents' vehicles, and they're not necessarily watching. They're darting in traffic. They're chasing balls and all sorts of other sporting equipment. So let's make sure that we slow down and be cognizant that kids are excited and they're running wild, right? How about, do you have any problems with parking issues at schools?
We do. There's a lot of congestion at parking at schools during peak hours, usually drop off and pick up in the afternoons, and we're always dealing with complaints. So just be cognizant. Don't stop in the middle of the lane when you're going to pick up your little daughter, your son. Go to designated areas to pick up your child.
Right. We're not stopping in the school bus pickup and drop off, right? We're parking in the parking lot or in legally parking on the street. Sometimes, unfortunately, you do have to park a block or a bit away, correct?
That's right. I mean, maybe a good thing to do is to talk to your kids beforehand, maybe in the morning or whatever, and kind of have a spot or a prearranged spot where they know they're going to be picked up. And yeah, it's probably not going to be right in front of the doors.
Right, perfect. So one more thing I really want to touch on is school bus and school bus safety. So when those flashing red lights are on, we need to stop behind the school bus, right?
That's right. It's a pretty serious offense, actually, to go around a school bus. It's actually a $543 fine and 6 demerits. So it's one that we take really seriously. Actually, any offense around a playground zone or a school zone we take really seriously, and there's very little tolerance for anything.
That's right. And we have received complaints where people will stop behind the school bus, look around, and think that the police aren't there so they can go around. But just so you know, those tickets will be issued to you if there's a witness or video surveillance of it. So it's a very serious offense. You need to make sure that you stop and you just wait. Typically, kids are pretty quick getting off that school bus because they're excited, like we talked about earlier.
That's right. And it all comes down to the safety of the kids, right? As the parents, we just got to be, aware, and we're the ones that have to look out for them. They should know better, yes, but like I said, they get excited. They're excited to go to the next activity, do whatever. So just watch out, be careful.
Perfect. So do you have anything else as an SRO that you would like to tell the public about school safety in general?
No, just drive safe around the playground zone, school zones, yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next segment of Cop Beat.
I'm Darcy Logan. I'm the Curator and Gallery Services Manager here at Casa, and I'm excited to be presenting 3 new exhibitions in the building, running through until October 21st. In the main gallery, we have Harbinger by first-time exhibitor Brian Wiebe. Also in the main gallery, we have Every Good Boy Does Fine by Saskatoon-based artist Joseph Anderson. And throughout the rest of the building in our auxiliary gallery spaces, we have Elders of the Future, which is a really interesting project. I'm hosting a partnership between Opakassan Early Intervention Society and the Lethbridge University Institute for Child and Youth Studies. Harbinger by Brian Wiebe is a unique and exciting exhibition. Brian's a self-taught artist, and this is his first time sharing his work with the community. I initially met Brian 2 years ago, and I received a phone call here at Casa from a community member asking if someone could give him a critique on his paintings because he'd never showed them or shared them with anybody. And I said, by all means, please come down. and he mentioned that he painted them with toothpicks. So I was curious and intrigued, and when Brian brought his beautifully iridescent mosaic-like paintings, I was astounded and amazed, and I immediately thought he needed to share his work with the community. Brian's interested in alternative histories, myth, secret histories. They're part Da Vinci Code and part investigation into the cultural narratives that kind of disseminate the power structures in the world. Also in the main gallery, we have Every Good Boy Does Fine by Joseph Anderson, who now lives in Saskatoon. He was a longtime resident of Lethbridge and got his Bachelor of Fine Arts degree at the university before going to Saskatoon and getting his Master's of Fine Art. And he's got a series of watercolor illustrations that are based on the activities of children, lost innocence, and ghost stories. On first appearance, they may appear to be innocent little children's illustrations, and once you start looking close, they're filled with scary and sinister imagery. And throughout the rest of the building, we have Elders of the Future, which is a partnership between the Opakassan Early Intervention Society and the University of Lethbridge Institute for Child and Youth Studies. These two important institutions in the community over the last 10 years had a partnership where Blackfoot families were given cameras to do a photo elicitation project where they documented domestic life and child rearing practices. And now, 10 years later, these images have been put into a large digital archive, and a selection of these images have been curated by Blackfoot youth who are displaying them at Casa alongside really interesting drawings and paintings by the children from the Opakassan Society as well. These amazing exhibitions are running through until the 21st of October, and the public is invited and encouraged to come out and view them and experience just the depth and breadth of our unique community. For information about the exhibitions here at Casa or our extensive arts education program, please call or visit us online or on Facebook.
World-renowned architect Arthur Erickson was hired to design the University Hall building at the University of Lethbridge. He would change the landscape of the west side of the city forever. While Erickson may have been the visionary of the building, one man who worked alongside him had arguably an even bigger influence on the way we see campus today. An engineer from New Zealand, Bob Bourton, came to Canada in the late 60s to work in what was a booming construction age. First working in Vancouver, Bob was eventually hired by Erickson as the structural engineer on the University Hall project.
Arthur looked out and sort of said, I have this vision that building will be flowing through the coulees. The original scheme of the university, and particularly seen from the other side of the river, it's a bit of an icon for Lethbridge. And, and he's created that, and it's like the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and it's a signature part of the city.
In what was intended to be a 2-year stay, turned into several more years, with Bob and his wife making a home and raising a family in the city before eventually returning to New Zealand. Recently back in town visiting family, Bob was invited back to campus to see how much has changed and to tour the new hub for innovation and discovery, the Destination Project. While here, Bob sat down with university archivist Mike Perry to chat about what it was like working with Erickson and to find out just how many projects Bob has been the structural mind behind on campus.
Yes, in fact, when I came over here, we had only supervising the construction of the University Hall only took about half my time, so the other half I worked with George Watson of Robbins Mitchell Watson at that time, and designing all the structure for the phys ed building, which was the gymnasium and the 3-story annex building alongside it.
Oh, the Aperture.
Aperture? Yeah.
Did you do that?
I
Okay.
designed that. I donated my engineering time for that.
Did you design that?
No, Arthur Erickson designed the form of what he wanted. The sort of like the 2 children's building blocks. And then I designed all the reinforcing and the foundations for that. We started work on the Arts Centre.
Oh, in 1980.
1980 was it?
Right,
1980
right.
it would have been, sorry, yes.
Right, so
yeah.
there's the Centre for Performing Arts. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was heavily involved in all that.
Okay. He did that too. Did
Yeah,
he?
George Watson was
did
the
that.
architect of it.
Right. So you helped him right from the beginning.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
particularly I had a particular interest in theatre.
Oh,
My wife and I are involved in musical theatre and theatre here in Lethbridge.
Oh, were you? Okay.
So a lot of anything to do with the performing arts spaces, I was probably more heavily involved than a structural engineer would normally be.
Oh,
I guess a little bit later we did the Max Bell Aquatic Centre.
Right.
To get all the architectural design and the structural design of
Right.
that.
So
Yeah.
overall, you were involved in this place right from 69 till
86.
86. A lot of years. That's 17 years.
I would almost say that there's probably not a piece of concrete poured on this campus during that period that I didn't have some responsibility for.
Local country artist Trevor Panzak recently released new music. We caught up with the singer to talk about his new album.
You said to hell with it all. I punched a hole in the wall. Haven't talked for 3 long days.
The new album is called Where I Go to Come Back, and we just it just dropped on iTunes September 15th. I put it on iTunes and every digital platform, and I felt like this process has been about 5 years in the making, maybe a little bit more now, but you know, growing up on a farm, I always compared singing and songwriting to farming, because that's what I grew up knowing. And you know, you have your seed and you prepare your seed bed, and you pray for rain and you hope you don't have bad weather, and then you have your harvest. Well, it's kind of the similar thing with songwriting and creating an album. Is you do your due diligence at the start. You write some songs and you pick out what are the good and the bad that fit the album, and then you pray for no bad weather, and then the harvest is here, and right in the middle of September 15th, which is a typical Southern Alberta harvest, and that's why we dropped it. Where I Go to Come Back for me is just as much a mental place as it is a physical one, and whether it's a memory or a song that brings back a memory, or a smell in the air, or anything like that, Where I Go to Come Back is a full album of 13 brand new songs that we're really proud of and we're really excited about.
Don't really know what to say. I wonder if you feel like me, said things you didn't mean. Well, Jack Daniels don't fight fair. You're gone and he don't care. Blame it on the
Really, and but yeah, it's been a there's been lots of ups and downs with this journey, with this record, but we're glad that it's finally here at the end of the road for the creation part, and now that it's finally out for distribution, we just hope that the people that hear it love it and share it with their friends and family, and spread the word about what we've been doing right here in Southern Alberta, and not just Southern Alberta, but branching out into. Man, we played everywhere from Toronto to Merritt, BC this year, and so we're more regional than we've ever been, that's for sure. So the goal is still to be national, and we're working on that, and that's our goal.
Blame it on the whiskey. A little too wild and crazy is the way it gets me. More than a few with you always gets risky.
I love the new song that we just released to radio called Blame It on the Whiskey. Now that's a John Wiggins and Bob and Clint Moffat co-write, and it was pitched to me by Bob Funk, my producer down in Nashville, and I heard it and I immediately liked it, and I sent it to Sean Sakamoto, who's been, you know, very instrumental in helping with not just my touring and shows, but you know, I've been counseled by him, and I appreciate his opinion a lot. He's got a lot of wisdom over his 30 years in the business. So when I sent him the song, he said, if you don't record that, you're a fool. And Daddy never raised no fool. So we recorded that, and we're sure glad we did. We've been getting a great response from our live shows as well as on radio, and so we couldn't be happier, and we got a great product, and we just hope that those 30 program directors across the country feel the same way.
And I was wondering if I could order us a shot of Crown, tap glass and pour 'em down. We'll talk about the good old days, and if we end up at my place.
Home is home. My brother's here, and
you know, he feels the same way about life, and I'm comfortable here. I love it here. I love my community, and you know, my dad is from Southern Alberta, and he's, you know, a lot of my success has come from the relationships that my dad built over the years, and so it's good to have a home base, and you always wanted to, you know, expand from there and grow, and that's what we've tried to do, and I think that's what we've been accomplishing.
Blame it on the whiskey.
My name is Ed Pien, and this exhibition is called Liquid Being, and I'm a full-time artist. I also teach part-time at the University of Toronto. So the exhibition began some 3 years ago when Josephine Mills came to Toronto to discuss with me the possibility of working on a project that involves water. It's all part of a series that she's working on called You Are Here. And it was a great conversation, and she set me up with really fascinating people, including Stephen Kenzo here, who's a hydrologist. And I love the way that she's able to tap in all the resources at the university. And so the conversation began when there, but then I came to Lethbridge for 3 times. And one of the ideas we were exploring as well, aside from environment, water, is how to make more engaging exhibitions. And so I thought, we have to include children because they're the ones who, if they get familiar and comfortable with going to gallery or addressing or confronting art or making art, when they grow up, they'll bring their kids. At the time, I was reading a book called Becoming Animal by David Abram, and that led me to think about water in a very different way. That's the beyond the environment. It includes the environment, but it goes beyond as well. It's called material eco-criticism. So through that, I began to ponder if water is a sentient being. Already with the First Nations people, they think about water as spiritual. So to me, that's already, that water has this sense of sentience. So the sentient quality is inspired by the Ecuadorian Amazon indigenous people who actually fought and won a lawsuit against the government and the forest industry, claiming that the forest is sentient because we all collaborate and work together and live together. Without one, the other one doesn't survive. And it's the same with water. At the moment, the water that I'm using is from St. Mary's River. So the idea is that water will speak on itself. I would coax it a little bit. It goes through a pump. It goes through these different trays, mylar trays that are transparent. So you actually get to see the cast shadows made possible or visible from the video projectors that are overhead. So water, in this case, when you see it flow, it has this quality of liveliness, the sense of kind of curiosity. It almost mimics the Oman River or other rivers that are around this area, including the Belly River. And the trays also represent or has analogy to the history of this area, which are the ducts that were built that are for irrigation that were set up by the Mormons. So it kind of playfully explores water without trying to be too environmentally over the head with issues, because I feel that may turn people off. So if I could make something that's more seductive and engaging, people will come and maybe find out more.
Thank you for watching this edition of the Community Producers. If you have a segment idea for our show, please email us at shawtv.lethbridge@sjrb.ca. I'm Victoria Nestorowicz, and until next time, see ya.